So if you don't have a spray bottle like me, because anybody had space to pack none, just wet your hands and then run your fingers through your hair. I don't like to get my hair too soaked, but I do find that using my hands also allows me to find the drier parts of the hair that I might have missed, especially if using a spray bottle. I mean, we just usually spray and we don't feel our hair. And as you can see now, I can just get rid of any hair that's shedding. And so when you're unable to burn your hair or your DNA, your nail clippings, whatever it is, which is highly recommended, put it in the loo and flush it. And you already know. So also, just like there is the LOC or LCO method for your hair, right? Keep in mind that the same applies to your skin. So LOC is liquid oil cream, LCO is liquid cream oil. So you need to figure out, does your skin respond better to having oil put on it first? Or does it respond better to having cream put on it first? That is also how I determine how to mix products for my clients. For example, one of my faves has really oily skin like me. So that already means that in her moisturizers and lotions, I would have to use some mattifying products, just so that, you know, let's say for example I'm using shea butter or coconut butter or cocoa butter, it might be too greasy on her skin, so then you mattify the formula by adding something relevant. I like to use what we call in isiZulu usibe bahle. I have no idea what the English or scientific name for it is, but it's a yellow powder, highly absorbent, amazing for sun protection and improving the appearance of pores on the skin. So I emulsify that in the lotion, and with the emulsifier, they will then make the moisturizer or the oil less greasy, make the formula less greasy. Okay, now that my hair is nice and hydrated and full of life, gonna braid it down. While I'm braiding my hair, let's talk about self-awareness, right? One of these buzzwords that are being thrown around a lot, especially with those of us in the personal development community. Okay, I haven't left my edges out, so start that again. I have a bit of a bald patch here, partially due to age, but mostly due to over braiding my hair. This is one of the reasons why I'm trying to keep my hair very natural and not too, what is the word? Manipulated. Yeah, I don't want to be doing too much with it. I do want to get like a wig soon. This has been a negotiation with my ancestors since November. I actually messaged a gorgeous babe this morning. She was sending me a reel about, you know, how spiritually, you know, buying a wig, usually if it's human hair, you know, that's somebody else's DNA. So from an African perspective, that is a whole other story and a drama. So I have been literally passing my wig through impepo and floral water or agua florida since November last year. It's still not good enough for my ancestors, so I'm holding on to hope because I spent good money on it and I think it looks really cute on me. So I'll be patient and hold on, see what happens. And if they say no, well, So no, what can you do? You can just accept it. Okay, back to self-awareness. Without using Google textbooks, let's break it down. Self-awareness, being aware of yourself. So what is being aware? Being aware means knowing and understanding. Okay, please let's not confuse this with self-actualization or self-love. Okay, self-awareness leads to self-actualization and self-love. So let's explore the self a little bit more. I feel like I may be bringing my head a little bit too far down, but that's all right. Doesn't have to be perfect. I like my French braids to sit a little higher up, but also I'm trying not to put too much tension on my hairline, because when you do that, the hair will break and fall out like it did with my braiding activities. Okay, so back to the self. The self is you, right? Essentially your conscious as well as your subconscious being. So most people just think self-awareness is, being aware of your thoughts and behaviors, which yes, it is. But also you need to be aware of the subconscious elements that are at play in your life. I had not a chat, but I sent a voice note this morning to a gorgeous babe. Just, making her aware. There was a joke that we were making. And at some point I realized, no man, every time this joke comes up, yeah, no, I am breathing too low. I'm gonna have to restart that. So I noticed that every time this joke would happen, I would begin over explaining, So I thought to myself, okay, I understand where the joke is coming from. All right, it's probably not a malicious place, it's a joke, you know what I mean? But I'm having a very specific response to it. So I had to sit and figure out, why am I having this response to it? Because in my conscious state, I find it funny, it's hilarious, it's adorable. But there's something that is happening that is triggering me to respond in a way that might be sensitive. So I had to then sit and assess, why is this happening? Okay. And in that assessment, this was answered by experiences that I had in childhood. Now, just going a little bit into that, as Black Africans, I think there is a tendency, especially in my experience, for us to have this very gangster, gung-ho attitude towards life and growing up, and we mostly do not acknowledge things that happened in the past, right? And you'll also notice, especially in narcissistic or toxic family systems, it's always encouraged for you to just grow up. That's a favorite term with narcissistic people, by the way. When you start holding them accountable and calling them out on things that happened or things that they did that affected you in the past, they tell you it's in the past, it's already gone. Yes, it's in the past, but it happened. Those of us that have read The Body Keeps the Score, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as an adult, you could say, okay, I was a child, it happened, let's move on. But your inner child, right, your shadow body, it remembers. Your subconscious is always recording. I'll say that again. Even when you think you're being dope and cool and you're doing things that don't matter, your subconscious is always recording. And what then happens is the trauma or the discomfort that you're inflicting on your subconscious will come up consciously and you will not understand why. For example, you may be hanging out with people who are not good for you. You do this because you don't want to look like someone who doesn't have friends. I'm going to have a chat about that as well. or, you know, you want to be socially acceptable, right? You want people to know you've got a life. You also don't want to be lonely, you know. But let's say you're not choosing your friends wisely, you're not being discerning, you're making friends with any and everybody, you're making friends with people who are not necessarily good for you. And so your inner child is sitting there going, fam, didn't I tell you I don't like this? Don't I make you feel sick? Don't you feel drained and tired every time you hang out with these people? And you probably ignore that, right? Most people will call that their conscience or their voice of reason. It's a topic for another day. And so you ignoring that feeling will ultimately result in your conscious body exhibiting symptoms and signs that show you, I don't want to be here, okay? You hang out with these people, you may start feeling nauseous. You hang out with these people, the next day you're depressed, you know? You tell yourself, oh, we were drinking, I have a hangover, babalas. Babalas, by the way, is a form of depression. Alcohol is a natural depressant. I've been telling this to y'all for years. And there's nothing wrong with consuming alcohol in moderation. Okay? I'm not gonna go into the biochemical process and story in that. So that is self, right? That's an example of what happens when you don't pay attention to yourself, right? So that's subconscious self. Conscious self is then you as an adult, right? You as a grown-up, the way you think, the way you behave. And now let's jump to awareness. So awareness is knowing. You know why you don't like getting up at 6 a.m., or at least you should, right? Some of us don't even know. We're not morning people, yet we work in jobs whereby we are forced to wake up very early, and then we wonder why we're unhappy and unfulfilled with these jobs. Could do things for monetary gain, financial security, but your subconscious is recording. Your subconscious knows. Your inner child is ingrained within you. Remember, had a chat about this. By the time you're about 7, 8, 9, your personality is set. You've been programmed. That is who you are. And by the time you turn 35, it becomes essentially impossible for you, for me, any other mental health care practitioner or professional to rewire and reprogram you. This is why I always urge parents to take their children to counseling and therapy as soon as humanly possible, because unlearning and reprogramming is a very difficult and arduous process. And I would want to make a video into how we used to curb and manage this in ancient times or times before, how our ancestors handled such things, you know. So you need to understand why you think how you think, why you behave how you behave. Usually, the way that you behave comes from how you think. How you think comes from how you're programmed. Okay, so you as the human machine need to understand what your programming is. What software are you running on? Is it the latest version? Has it been updated, upgraded? Are you still working on the same system you've been working on since you were in high school? Are you making changes and improvements? Are these changes and improvements for yourself, or are you doing them just to appease someone else or other people? These are questions you need to ask yourself. So, how to become more self-aware? Whether you like it or you do not like it, you have to spend time with yourself. People think spending time with themselves is sitting on the gulag, the shank, toy, on their phone, scrolling or contemplating life. No, in that moment you're being passive. Okay, you're being very passive. You're not spending time with yourself. Spending time with yourself means sitting in silence and observing your thoughts. Observing your thoughts, my love. Highly underrated by everybody in daily life. Because when we don't observe our thoughts, what tends to happen is we listen to our thoughts. Most of us, especially those of us who have a lot of nervous, anxious conditions, depressive conditions, we listen to our thoughts, and that's not how it should be. If you're sitting, not every day, but let's say every other day, and you just sit, right? You watch your thoughts, let them float by like clouds. That's what I usually tell my clients. Just imagine you're lying down in a field. These thoughts are coming into your head. Just watch them and let them float by, you know? What you then can do to boost that activity is to grab a journal or a notebook and write down what these thoughts are, okay? By doing that, you can now keep track of, for example, okay, I tend to have this particular thought more than any other thought. This thought tends to come at such and such a time. This thought comes after I have interacted with so and so. Okay? What is this thought trying to tell me? And here's something that has helped a lot of people, especially friends that I have in my life. You need to understand that your brain's primary function is to keep you alive. That is the chemical programming of your brain. Your brain is not here to make you feel good about yourself, make you feel encouraged. No, your brain's primary programming is keep this human being alive. I'm not very happy with how my braid is coming out, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. So here's an example, right? My brain is telling me, no, I don't like this, redo it. No, it's okay. Got no time to redo it, and it's okay. It looks good enough for me. Then my brain says, what are other people gonna think? What are they gonna say? It's not my problem. They're not paying for my hair care. They're not paying for my time. This is what it is. Okay. So the one thing that I like to tell loved ones, people close to me, is your brain's primary function is to keep you alive. So your brain is going to do any and everything to ensure that you stay alive. If you, as a child, had a near drowning experience, your brain is going to tell you to stay away from water, right? If you witnessed, domestic violence, physical, verbal, mental abuse between certain individuals in a specific area, your brain will most likely keep you from going to that area. You'll start feeling an anxiety when you consider going to that area. And your brain will then send out a signal to you. It's going to create a thought saying, hey, your chest is tight. It's going to say chest, you get tight. Glands, you start perspiring, right? Some of us will start shaking. That is your brain trying to keep you alive. Your brain is trying to tell you something about that thought, that action that you are engaging in or are considering, whatever the case may be, okay? So you need to start programming your brain to be your friend. Just like any machine or system, right? You need to teach that system how to behave. And this is where then your practices like yoga and meditation come in. That is you literally taking reign and sovereignty over your thoughts and your body and saying, I choose to think this way. I choose to behave this way. So a lot of people, they allow their brain to run on autopilot most of their lives, right? Things just happening day to day. You get up, you go to work, you do whatever. And then you wonder why you're addicted to certain substances. You wonder why you're constantly fatigued and exhausted. There's always a reason. There's always a basis for this. And so self-awareness is a daily task. It goes on forever. Because every day you are changing. Your physiology is changing. Your life experiences are changing. You are not stagnant. Like I always tell my friends, in life, just like in Call of Duty, if you're not moving around, if you're not evolving, if you're not growing, if you're stagnant, you're dying, right? You're gonna get sniped out. So it's a constant ongoing thing. You need to work at it. Nobody's going to do it for you. You cannot watch a TikTok, a YouTube, a real video and think that you now have all the answers you understand. No, you have to sit down and do the work. And the role of life coaches and mental or emotional well-being professionals is to ensure that we hold you accountable to this. Okay? This is what you pay us for. Right? Because we're experienced, we understand what you're doing, and the goal is to ensure that you are making steady progress. Shout out to my clients. Every single one of my clients is styling, right? And this is one of the things as well that we need to understand about mental health counseling, emotional health therapies, whatever it may be. You need to keep it ongoing. Even if you're coming in like once a month, that's perfectly okay. But if you're doing it once and then you're chilling for months in between or years in between, there's no progress that you can measure there. If we're being honest, truthful, and fair, there isn't much progress that's being made there. Okay? So you need to get into the habit of creating healthy thought processes and healthy habits that are going to help you grow and improve. But at the same time, you need to be aware not to make yourself a project. Please, please be very careful not to make yourself a project. This is one of the things that a lot of young people are battling with now, constantly trying to get better, constantly looking for the next best trend, constantly looking for the next spiritual tool. What is the actual problem? Why do you keep chasing all these things? Why are you always looking for something better, something new? Why do you always need to be consuming? You need to figure that out. What is the root cause of these behaviors? The root cause of that behavior is a specific thought process. What is that thought process? Yeah? So self-awareness, in summation, is you getting to know yourself, you then learning to love and accept yourself. And in as much as a lot of people like to make this easy, you get a lot of motivational speakers. Please, let's learn to differentiate a motivational speaker from a life coach. Yo, that's a whole chat that we need to have on a different day. So they make it look easy, they make it sound easy, but it really and truly is not. It really and truly is not. Especially the more difficult life experiences and circumstances that you've had. Ashe, I wish you Godspeed. I wish you grace from your ancestors, your guides, angels, laws, to give you the ability and the love to accept yourself for who you are, not to care what other people think about you. Of course, behave accordingly. You know, you can't be an asshole and expect people not to treat you like an asshole. That's the other thing, which is another chat for another day. But yeah, I want to get to my makeup now, which I'm wondering if I even have time for. Let's see how we go.